You believed love was a currency, that if you gave enough attention, time, comfort, loyalty, she would reward you with devotion. You thought love was a transaction of effort. The more you offered, the deeper she'd feel for you. You were wrong. She didn't love you more. She began to pull away. She began to feel you were less than her. Because in the mind of a woman, the man who gives too much too easily becomes cheap. You weren't born weak. You weren't born desperate. But slowly, over days, months, years, you let yourself become what Machiavelli warned against: predictable, unguarded, and easy to manipulate. Men have forgotten this truth: no one respects what is too easily given. A paraphrase that fits Machiavelli's mind like a glove. You thought she would love you because you gave her your world. She began to resent you because you gave it away so freely. And here's the brutal truth: you started high in her eyes. Every man does. Every woman begins by looking up to a man she's intrigued by. But it is up to you to keep that height. Each time you apologized for things you didn't do. Each time you prioritized her over your mission. Each time you begged instead of walked away. You dropped a rung in her eyes. Not because she's evil. Not because women are cruel. But because respect is the foundation of love. And you traded it for approval. Let me say that again. Respect is the foundation. Love is the structure. But if the foundation crumbles, no matter how beautifully you decorate the house, it collapses. She might still smile at you. She might still take what you give. But she won't admire you, and she certainly won't desire you. The more you offered without demand, the more she began to test your boundaries. Because in her subconscious mind, she needed to know, are you a man, or are you a servant wearing his clothes? You told yourself you were being kind, that this was what a good man does, that love means sacrifice. You learned that lie from stories meant to make men tame. And now you suffer the price of that programming. She doesn't want a man who serves her. She wants a man who stands so firm in himself. She serves him by choice, and that terrifies you. Because you've been told your whole life that women want softness, sweetness, emotional vulnerability. That the more you express your need, the more they'll feel safe. But reality is cruel to idealism. And nature doesn't care about what you were taught. It only rewards what works. The harsh truth: love makes most men weak. They start bold. But once they have her, they soften. They lose edge. They surrender their frame. And she watches this slow decay of the man she once admired until all she sees is a shadow of what once stood tall. Love is a trap. When it appears, all we see is its light, not its shadows. Paulo Coelho, you wanted to be loved, but you forgot to be respected. Now she rolls her eyes when you speak. She ignores your messages. She withholds affection. You feel it slipping, but you don't understand why. Because in your mind, you've done everything right. And that's the problem. She never asked you to hand over your soul. She was drawn to the man who had a soul of his own. You thought love meant surrender. She wanted challenge, mystery, dominance. You gave her comfort. She craved strength. You gave her validation. She craved gravity. She fell in love with a man who stood for something. And now, you're standing only for her. Congratulations, you've become invisible. And now you come here broken, betrayed, bewildered, asking, what did I do wrong? You gave too much. You gave too soon. And you gave up yourself in the process. Machiavelli never wrote about romance in the modern sense, but his mind understood power perception control. Apply his philosophy to love, and one truth emerges. The more you give without cost, the more she will lose respect for you. And when respect is lost, love is already dead. The body just hasn't noticed yet. You were told to be soft, to open your heart, to surrender your ego. But here's the first rule you were never taught. A man who becomes harmless in love becomes worthless in her eyes. Not because she's cruel, but because she's instinctual. She can't love what she doesn't respect. And she can't respect what she doesn't fear, even just a little. Machiavelli writes, "It is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both." Modern minds shrink from that idea. They mistake fear for abuse. But that's not what Machiavelli meant. He spoke of presence, power, the capacity to walk away, to destroy, to punish, not that you do it, but that you can. And that's the key. She wants to feel your power. She wants to know it's there, coiled beneath the surface like a wolf that chooses not to bite. Not a neutered dog begging for her attention. When you fall in love and become completely predictable, emotionally exposed, always available, you're no longer the man she met. You're not the man who had options. You're now the man who waits for her texts. The man who cancels plans. The man who becomes her emotional sponge. She says she wants honesty, so you confess every feeling. She says she wants sensitivity, so you wear your wounds on your sleeve. She says she wants vulnerability, so you become soft, docile, eager, and then she pulls away. Why? Because you've confused openness with surrender. You've traded power for access, and nothing loses value faster than what's too easily accessed. Jung once said, "Every man carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." A woman doesn't want a man with no shadow. She wants a man who owns his shadow, who can bring chaos but chooses control. A man who can disappear, dominate, destroy, but doesn't. Not for her, not for anyone. Because his mission is bigger than love. That's what she tests when she provokes you. When she questions your manhood. When she withholds intimacy. She's not trying to hurt you. She's trying to feel you. Is there anything behind those eyes beyond need? Do you stand for anything besides her approval? Most men fail this test. They react. They cling. They whimper. You must understand this. Love is not peace for a man. It is war. A war for your frame, your direction, your boundaries. Not against her, but against the urge to collapse into her, to abandon yourself in the name of love. You think you're being noble when you sacrifice your time, your ambition, your purpose. But in her biology, you're just dissolving. She watches the man she once admired slowly shapeshift into a soft echo. And she can't tell you why she's suddenly irritated, cold bored. But her instincts are screaming, this man has lost himself. The truth, she doesn't want to own you. She wants to feel owned by you, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Not through dominance, but through direction, through restraint, through mystery, through a man who can say no. A man who walks away when disrespected. A man who doesn't need love to breathe, but chooses it as a king chooses battle. You're not supposed to become her everything. You're supposed to remain a world she longs to understand, but never fully controls. That's the edge. You lose that edge. You lose her. The man she loves is not the man who lays down his weapons. It's the man who has them sharpened, gleaming in the dark, and still chooses to hold her gently. If she doesn't feel that choice, she won't feel your value. Remember this. The lion who sleeps beside her must still be a lion. If you become a lamb, she won't even notice when you leave. You gave her everything. Not because she asked, but because you thought it would win her. Your time, your money, your loyalty, your dreams. All laid at her feet like offerings at the altar of her affection. And yet, she didn't bow. She turned. This is the third truth you must burn into your soul. Women do not respect sacrifice they didn't ask for. You thought your pain would impress her. You thought your sleepless nights, your canceled plans, your dropped ambitions would make her say, "Look how much he loves me." But no. She saw weakness. She saw desperation. She saw a man without spine. Carl Jung wrote, "The man who over-identifies with the feminine becomes devoured by it." You became love. You became emotion. You became sacrifice. And in doing so, you stopped being a man. She doesn't need you to fall apart for her. She needs to feel safe in your presence, not in your collapse. She wants to rest in your gravity, not drown in your sentiment. The sad irony: the more you gave, the less she felt. Because deep down she sensed you weren't doing it from abundance. You were doing it out of fear. Fear of losing her, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. And fear, my friend, is the opposite of attraction. She was testing your core, not consciously, not maliciously, but evolutionarily. When she pushed your limits, did you hold firm? When she acted cold, did you keep your dignity? When she insulted your ambition, did you retreat or rise? Most men fail here. They flinch. They double down. They sacrifice more, thinking they're buying love with pain. But love bought with pain is not love. It's pity. And pity is poison. You must understand something few men are ever told. Women crave energy, but not just any energy. They crave directional, masculine, self-anchored energy. Energy that does not sway with her moods. Energy that does not apologize for its presence. Energy that commands a room not through noise, but through stillness. You gave her your time when you should have been building. You gave her your heart when she hadn't earned your trust. You gave her your soul without knowing whether she even wanted it. And now you sit there empty, wondering why she left. Why she stopped texting. Why she no longer looks at you the same. It's because you became a mirror of her emotions, not a container for them. And she already has a mirror. What she needed was a man. Let me put it brutally clear. She doesn't fall for the man who gives her everything. She falls for the man who gives her just enough to stay curious while fiercely protecting his purpose. You are not her savior. You are not her emotional crutch. You are not her therapist. You are a man on a mission. And only when she feels that truly, deeply, instinctively, will she even consider giving you her respect. Never do for a woman what she would not bleed for you to do in return. Unknown, but it echoes Machiavelli's spirit. When you give unearned devotion, you make her uncomfortable. Because deep down, she knows this man has no standards. If your love is automatic, it is meaningless. If your sacrifice is unconditional, it is disposable. And if your loyalty comes before her respect, you were never loyal to yourself. So what must you do? You reclaim your value. You set the price for access to your heart. You stop overgiving. You stop chasing approval. You stop bleeding for someone who would not give you a drop in return, and you begin again. This time you lead. You build. You become unshakable. And if she walks beside you, not ahead of you, not dragging you back, but beside you, then you offer your time, your presence, your loyalty. But only after she's earned it, and only if she respects it. Because the third truth never changes. A man who sacrifices without being asked is not noble. He is disposable. You wanted her to know you, to truly understand the depths of your soul. So you opened everything. Every thought, every wound, every childhood scar, every fear and dream and regret. You handed her the full map to your inner world. And then without warning, she became distant, detached, unimpressed. Why? Because you violated the final rule of masculine mystery. Never give a woman all of you. Always keep something she can't touch. That doesn't mean you lie. It doesn't mean you manipulate. It means you protect a part of yourself from being consumed. Nietzsche said, "If you reveal everything, you cease to exist. There must be a part of you that is untouchable. A quiet corner in your mind where no woman has access. A private temple of solitude, war, purpose, pain, call it what you want. But it must be yours. She must sense that no matter how close she gets, she will never own you. That deep within you is a territory where only you walk. And that if she ever disrespects you, you will disappear into that place without a word, without a goodbye, and never return. You don't say this, you live this, and she will feel it. Not through threats, not through arrogance, but through the weight of your silence. The gravity in your eyes, the calm refusal to explain yourself. Because here's the harsh reality. If she believes she has fully conquered you, she will stop desiring you. Attraction is born from tension, from polarity, from the dance between the known and the unknown. You thought closeness meant sharing everything. But real intimacy requires boundaries, not walls, but depth. And depth requires distance. A man who is too accessible becomes boring. A man who is too open becomes flat. A man who gives full emotional availability too early becomes a therapist, not a lover. You must stay rooted in something greater than her. Your purpose, your code, your path. She must feel that even when she holds your hand, she's holding a man who belongs to something beyond her. That is what keeps her engaged. Not your compliments, not your promises, not your poems and playlists and devotion. What keeps her there, what makes her chase, is the uncertainty of knowing you can choose her or not. And that power, that restraint, is what creates the balance. Machiavelli understood this in the realm of politics. A wise ruler must never fully reveal his intentions. You are the ruler of your kingdom. She is welcome in your court. But the throne is not for sale, and your crown is not gifted through affection. What makes you desirable is not your emotional exposure. It's your unshakable presence. It's the sense that you could vanish at any time, not out of cruelty, but because your mission calls. If she disrespects your time, you walk. If she crosses your boundaries, you don't negotiate. If she plays games you don't chase, you disappear. This isn't manipulation. This is masculine self-respect. The most attractive man is not the most open. He's the most anchored. She can storm, she can cry, she can rage. But he remains still, focused, because he knows his peace is not up for negotiation. And that's the paradox. The more she senses you don't need her love, the more she wants to give it. The more you remain just slightly out of reach, the more she leans in. Because you are a man of gravity. A man who holds a secret fire. And no matter how close she gets, she knows you will never burn that fire out to please her. So remember this final rule. Keep something sacred. Something she can never reach. That's not you being distant. That's you being eternal. You thought she was being cruel. When she ignored your calls, when she flirted with other men, when she challenged your authority in front of your friends. You called it disrespect. You called it betrayal. But here's the brutal truth. She wasn't trying to hurt you. She was trying to test you. You think love means peace. But for a man, love is trial. Every woman, consciously or not, will test the man she's with. Not because she's evil, but because her biology demands it. She needs to know, are you the man you say you are? Or are you only strong when it's easy? Kierkegaard once said, the greatest illusion is that we are loved for who we are, rather than for what we survive. This is that illusion. You think love is about acceptance, that she'll love you just for being nice, consistent giving. But in reality, she loves the version of you that survives her tests. Every ignored message, every emotional withdrawal, every small rebellion. It's not meant to destroy you. It's meant to reveal you. What will you do when she's cold? Will you chase? Will you panic? Will you lose your frame? Or will you stand tall, unbothered, focused, not on her behavior, but on your own standard? You were told that if she acts out, it's because she's broken. But often, it's because she wants to see if you'll break. She needs to feel your stability. She needs to sense that no matter how much chaos she brings, you remain unmoved. That's what makes her feel safe. Not your words, not your gifts, not your constant availability. Your stillness, your depth, your refusal to collapse. Most men collapse. Most men mistake these tests for attacks. And so they defend, beg, cry, threaten, withdraw. And in doing so, they confirm her fear. This man is not strong enough for me. She wants a man who can contain her emotions, not mirror them. She wants a man who can ground her energy, not chase it. This doesn't mean you allow disrespect. It means you respond with control, with standards, with consequence. You say less, you walk more, You don't explain your worth. You demonstrate it through silence, through exit, through unwavering purpose. Machiavelli said, "A prince is also esteemed when he is a true friend and a true enemy." Be both. Be warm when it's earned. Be ruthless when it's crossed. The moment she feels you're incapable of punishment, she will lose respect. It's not abuse. It's polarity. And polarity creates desire. You thought you were doing everything right. You were texting every morning. You were checking in. You were making her your first priority, and she felt it. She felt that she was your center. She was your oxygen, your God. And what does anyone do when worshipped too much? They recoil, they rebel, they reject. Because no woman wants to be your reason for living. She wants to orbit a man who has a reason greater than her. She wants to feel that even in love, you are untouchable. You don't flinch when she withdraws. You don't rage when she provokes. You don't collapse when she tests. You pass every trial not by fighting her, but by standing firm in your frame. You are not here to win her. You are here to reveal whether she's worthy to walk beside the man you are becoming. If she is, let her. If she is not, release her. But never become the man who bends to stay. Because the moment she senses you'd trade your truth to keep her, she'll walk. And she won't look back. You have two choices now. You either awaken or you decay. You either stand firm, centered alone if necessary, or you continue to bleed out pieces of yourself drop by drop in the name of a love that no longer sees you. There is no in between. There is no soft landing. There is only this: walk alone, or die slowly in the illusion of being loved. You've tried everything. The good morning texts, the flowers, the apologies for things you didn't do, the long conversations trying to fix her silence, the silent suffering hoping she'd see your worth. But she didn't, because she can't. No one sees a man's value when he doesn't hold the line for it himself. No one respects a man who begs to be chosen. No one desires the man who has nothing else to offer but love. Nietzsche warned, "Who has a why to live can bear almost any how." And most men make her their why. That is the disease. That is what rots you from the inside out. You think love will save you. But love, when misdirected, is the thing that kills you. Because it softens your edge. It hijacks your identity. It makes you believe that peace can come from a person outside of you. It never does. And she can feel when you've made her your God, when your happiness is in her hands. And that is when she begins to punish you for it, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she despises the version of you that gave her too much power. She wanted your strength. You gave her submission. She wanted your leadership. You gave her worship. She wanted to feel your gravity. You floated like a feather around her orbit. So now she tests you harder. Or she leaves. Or worse, she stays, but with contempt, and you accept it. Because the lie in your mind whispers, "If I just love her better, maybe she'll come back." She won't. Not to the man you've become, only to the man you were the one who had standards, who had silence, who had somewhere else to be if disrespected. But that man is gone, unless you resurrect him now. Machiavelli taught one must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. You have been neither. You walked willingly into the trap of unconditional love. And now you are being devoured not by her, but by your own blindness. It ends now. Not with her apology, not with closure, not with a final text. It ends when you decide that no one will ever be your oxygen again. You were born alone. You will die alone. And every meaningful thing you build in between must come from your own spine, not her smile. If she walks, let her. If she tests, pass or walk away. If she stays, make her rise to meet you, not fall into the pit where you once collapsed. From this day forward, you do not chase, you do not beg, you do not fold. You walk with clarity, with purpose, with silence where words used to be. Because a man who has rebuilt himself from the ashes of romantic delusion no longer kneels. He leads. He selects. He walks alone when necessary. And when the right woman arrives, if she ever does, she steps into his world, not the other way around. Final truth. Love is not the prize, you are. And if she doesn't see it, walk. Not slowly, not sadly, but with the full power of a man who has remembered his worth. This is your awakening, or your final warning. Walk alone, or die slowly in the illusion.